Canadian housing sales have fallen for a third straight month, down 8.4% in June. But June was still a record month in Canadian housing sales. And what does this all mean with respect to if you're going to be buying a house, what the future of the market looks like, and how this compares to previous years? That's what we're going to discuss in today's video. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers, where one lucky subscriber is going to win $5,000 to put towards their RESP, RSP, TFSA, to pay down their mortgage debt or to pay down other debt or to simply do whatever they like with. But in order to win, you have to be subscribed. So go ahead, click that subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, and it's definitely worth it. And thank you to the 15,000 of you now who have subscribed to this channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for continually showing up. Thank you for the comments. Thanks for the likes. Love each and every one of you and look forward to seeing you on the other side of the intro. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit. Product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the Canadian housing market and the reduction in sales over the last couple of months, because this is the third month in a row that we've seen declining sales coming off the historic and crazy March market in the Toronto and Vancouver areas. Of course, we still see markets where things are lagging compared to what is going on in those markets. We see markets like Calgary that are still very, very hot with lots of sales and lots of transactions happening. But for the most part, the real estate market in the country is cooling. Normally, we see June to be a pretty heavy sales month. This last June, for whatever reason, was slightly lower. And I think that is in large part due to us simply running out of a pool of available buyers to purchase properties. So I'm going to jump in here and show you the headlines. And I found some really great graphs and some really great tools from the Canadian Real Estate Association that I want to show you as well. So first and foremost, we'll start with the headlines as always, as normal, from B&M Bloomberg, talking about Canadian home sales suffering their third decline from lofty heights. And if you go and take a look at the data here, the article here, the number of homes that have changed hands has dropped by 8.4% in June from the month before. And as you can see from the graph, really great graph here, you can see that home sales pretty much hit their peak back in March and have basically started to slow coming into June, and we expect that this number will start to slow until we start to get back to this normal trend line that you see has been pretty consistent going back to 2010. So we kind of expect around this 40,000 sales per month mark to be the normal. And I suspect that at some point we're going to be back there. Now, I want to show you this other graph that B&M Bloomberg has put together. This is one that I really, really like, because when we talk about sales to listing ratios, the data, the charts that we typically have aren't really, really great. But this one illustrates sales to listing ratio very, very well. And what it shows you is the percentage of homes compared to the percentage of houses that are listed at any given time. And as you can see back in March, again, really high numbers. And you're starting to see that number come back down, back towards normalcy, where about 50 to 60% of houses that are listed get sold in any given month. So really good information, really good data here. But the key thing is that those big markets, the craziness is subsiding. So if you were thinking about buying a home but didn't want to get into those crazy bidding wars and all of those things, now might be the time to start thinking about purchasing and getting into the market. Well, things are not quite as crazy. And by the way, for all the doomsdayers, the naysayers, the people who believe that housing market is going to crash, at this point in time, there's nothing that tells us that that is going to happen. There's also nothing that tells us that housing prices are going to continue to rise. At this point, it is anybody's guess. But here's my advice for people who are thinking about getting into the market. Whether you buy at the top of this market, the bottom of this market, 25 years from now, all of this, as crazy as these graphs look, as crazy as these spikes look, 25 years from now, all of this will be a blip on the radar. So what we always advise people is get into the housing market and purchase a property as soon as you possibly can so that you can take advantage of runs up and runs down. They have this thing they say about the stock market, which is if you missed the 10 best performing days in a market going back to the 1920s, then you lost out on almost all of the possible returns. Real estate's no different. In order to gain from the market, you need to be in the market. I know there was people a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people who we'd talked to about investment properties that said, you know what, we're just going to wait to see how much more it goes down. And then they found themselves in a scenario where they missed a pretty big run up. So my advice always is, at least for a place to live in, if you are thinking about getting into the market, do it at your earliest possible opportunity. Now, here's the stats I wanted to show you. There's two packages here from the Canadian Real Estate Association that I think are really fantastic at showing what's going on in the Canadian real estate market. Here you can see the national home sales numbers where they've declined every month going back to March. Now, the sales isn't prices, that's just the number of transactions that's happening. So this doesn't mean that housing prices are necessarily going down, but what it does mean is that there's less activity and less craziness, which usually is an indication that we've kind of hit the top of where the market is, at least for now. And then what I love about this from Korea is you can basically scroll through and look at a bunch of different slides that they've had. You can see the actual activity, how many sales they've had is up around 60,000 sales in June. Obviously, it's a record June. March was obviously the record month in history, but you can see very, very, very clearly what the months going back in the last year look like and how much more sales there were this year compared to June of last year. Then I love this, Cliff Stevenson. This is somebody that I know fairly well. He is a Calgary realtor. He is now the chair of the Canadian Real Estate Association, probably one of the smartest realtors I know. His quote here is this: while there's still a lot of activity in many housing markets across Canada, like Calgary, things have noticeably calmed down in the last few months. There remains a shortage of supply in many parts of the country, but at least there isn't the same level of competition among buyers that we were seeing a few months ago. So really great quote from him. Then we move into new listings. You can see new listings are down from March as well. And moving into the MLS price index, you can see that even though the number of sales has gone down, the MLS price index is still creeping up. So less activity, but still lots of demand, and the demand is outpacing supply, which always leads to increased housing prices. Then moving on to national average sales price, you can see that our national average sale price has increased by 25.94% from last year, and it is now just up over $650,000. Now, speaking of prices, I found a new great way to give you guys the national prices. It isn't city by city, it is province by province, but this is a very, very cool tool from the Canadian Real Estate Association. We're going to start from west to east, go through each province. For those of you in the eastern provinces, you're going to love this because we're finally going to talk about you guys. But basically, we're going to run through and show what the average prices are. So in British Columbia right now, average price is $909,000. That is, and sorry, this isn't average prices. This is HPI benchmark prices. Of course, HPI home price index is a better measure of what's actually happening in the market because it measures one type of property instead of having an average price, which can be skewed by really big sales and really small sales. So the HPI benchmark price in British Columbia is now $909,810. You can see that's up pretty significantly from last year. Moving into Alberta, we're at $432,159. Again, up from last year. Saskatchewan's market, and there's an asterisk on this. All other areas displaying, sorry. So you know what? Alberta and BC are both displaying average prices. Saskatchewan is showing the HPI benchmark price, $288,500. And obviously, you know, when we've looked at Saskatoon numbers in the past, these are significantly higher than what the number for all of Saskatchewan is being, because different markets have different price points and different markets within provinces have different price points. So you can see that the average price in Saskatchewan is actually less than the average price in Saskatoon. Manitoba's price is $346,943, up from $305,000 last year. Ontario's average price is $857,754, which is obviously a little bit lower than what Toronto's market would indicate. We know that Toronto's market is just under 1.1 million right now. Quebec's average price is at $452,732, again, up quite substantially from the year before, almost $90,000, which when you go back and compare to how much Alberta's market is up, you know, Quebec's market is up considerably more than Alberta's. Obviously, Quebec is one of the most beautiful provinces in the world, most beautiful places in the world. So, you know, I suspect that a lot of people really want to live there, and it's a pretty desirable place to live. And therefore, you're seeing a pretty significant run up in prices. Then getting into Newfoundland and Labrador, average benchmark price, $308,000, up from $275,000. So not a huge run up in the overall grand scheme of things of Newfoundland and Labrador, but a fairly substantial one nonetheless. We're seeing that across the country. And then let's just go and take a look. And That's all we've really got. Oh, wait, here, New Brunswick, $245,600 is their new average price. That's up quite substantially. And then Nova Scotia, 366,000 average price, up from 287. So also up quite substantially. So the story here is that no matter where you go in Canada right now, housing prices are up substantially from where they were last year. That is no surprise. You can see there's a broad range of prices across the country, whether you're in Vancouver, BC, or Ontario, pretty high prices, and then the rest of the country is pretty stable. For those of you thinking of leaving and going to Europe or the United States to get a better deal, just know that you can travel interprovincially and get a way better deal and then have all the same benefits that you get of being a Canadian and love Canada, hate Canada, doesn't matter. There is a significant amount of benefits to being a Canadian. So if you're giving up on Canada, I feel bad for you because there's a lot of great places to live in this country where housing is still very, very, very affordable. Just because it's not affordable in Toronto and Vancouver doesn't mean that you can't buy a house for a great price somewhere else. So that is the Canadian real estate update for July of 2021. Obviously, some really interesting things going on across the market, sales slowing down. It'll be interesting to see what happens in July, August, September, as pretty much all the restrictions are lifted across Canada. We'll see if sales go up or if people are comfortable now where they're living, or maybe we'll start to see those condo markets bump up as people decide that they want to be back closer to the action. If you are thinking about getting into the real estate market, we have something for you. Obviously, we understand that not everybody can go through the process with Mortgage 360 and have the level of protection and the level of advice that we provide. But that doesn't change the fact that my personal why is to make sure people have the tools that they need in order to thrive and give. So we've therefore put together a course called the Homebuyers Bootcamp to help educate anybody who is looking at getting into the market about all things real estate from start to finish, including how to select a realtor, how to negotiate on a property, how to get a mortgage. Everything from start to finish is included in that course. And the reason why we have done that is because we want to make sure that everybody has the information they need and the full information they need in order to buy a house and not basically get screwed or spend way more money than they need to. So that course is priced so incredibly low that anybody who is thinking about getting into the market would be crazy not to purchase it. We expect that people to get 10 to 50 times their money back just by having the information that's available in the course. In fact, we put a special offer in that course to make sure that everybody gets at least 10 times their money back if they choose to get a mortgage through Mortgage 360. I sincerely hope that you will join us on that homebuyer bootcamp journey and allow us to join you in your home buying journey. And if nothing else, if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers. I sincerely hope that you, yes you, those people that made it to the very end of this video and listened to my little pitch about the Homebuyer Bootcamp, I sincerely hope that you are the winner. So go ahead, click that subscribe button. Again, it's free, it's easy, and I guarantee you 100% it's definitely worth it. We'll see you on the next video. Cheers.